All right, so this is about how China beat the US to nuclear fusion as AI power needs surge by CNBC.
Nuclear fusion,
Yeah.
the holy grail of clean energy. Atoms smashed together, creating 4 times more energy per kilogram of fuel than traditional nuclear fission, and 4 million times more than burning coal, with no greenhouse gases or long-term radioactive waste. If all goes to plan, it'll be at least a $1 trillion market. The problem?
Only working fusion power plants right now in the universe are stars.
It's a good joke.
Now it's a worldwide race to change that. The closest anyone's come was at the National Ignition Facility in California in 2022, with a brief but crucial moment of net positive fusion energy. But despite decades of U.S. leadership, China is catching up, building faster and spending twice as much to beat the U.S. to it.
If you care about AI, if you care about, energy leadership, you have to make investments.
Hey, why is this guy in a bathrobe? He's a little too chill.
Into fusion. This is something that if the United States doesn't lead on, then China will.
New satellite images show China's rapid build-out of a giant new laser fusion site, twice the size of the California lab. Another huge state-funded project opens this year, and yet another is scheduled for 2027. This at a time when the U.S. has only upgraded existing machines, some of them 30-plus years old. At this rate, some say China could surpass the U.S. in 3 or 4 years.
As a Western person, I'm scared. I want to make sure we succeed.
A new report from senators and fusion experts is calling for $10 billion of federal funds to keep fusion from suffering.
Oh my god, $10 billion. It needs to be more than that, to be honest. I mean, the amount that the U.S. needs to spend on upgrading their entire infrastructure, but like specifically their research infrastructure, to make use of just the way that global economics works today, I think it just needs to do a lot more. It just feels like a flash in the pan, when the richest person in America is worth 10 times that much at least, like $10 billion feels like nothing, for a key technology to maintain your dominance as the leader of the free world. It just seems like our thinking is too limited. Where's the guts and glory days, and build real infrastructure, do it stepwise. That's how the Wright brothers discovered flight. You got to do it stepwise, just keep on working and be methodical. And there's a lot of just Hail Marys and desperation and looking for unicorn hires, instead of thinking that the way that the US used to, the way the West used to think was, here's what we create, we build, we nurture unicorns. Of course we get unicorns because we create them, we build the environment for that to happen, and then we take care of them. Now it's become almost like a third world country, exploitative. We want to hire a unicorn engineer, and they'll come. They're bored in a cocoon, and then they'll come to us. And, we'll compete for them. It's just weird. It's so silly.
Suffering the same fate as EV batteries and solar. So for now, it's a race between state-supported Chinese projects and private startups, the vast majority of which are based in the U.S., like Helion, with $1 billion from investors like OpenAI's Sam Altman, and a highly ambitious deal with Microsoft to deliver fusion power to the grid by 2028.
You're not going to have any new fission power in America by 2028. No, that's fusion power.
Google's backed TAE Technologies raised $1.2 billion. Commonwealth Fusion Systems.
We still don't have thorium power plants, they've been tearing down uranium fission plants. So just the idea that the US could move fast enough to put thorium on the map by 2028, that's 3 years, less than 3 years now, it's kind of absurd.
Has raised the most, nearly $2 billion, from the likes of Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and Google.
You can't just punt this down the road and say, well, fusion, what is that? We don't know what's happening. It is happening in China.
We sat down with 3 of the biggest U.S. startups and fusion experts to find out what's at stake and ask what they're doing about China gaining ground in the race to commercial, limitless, clean atomic energy.
How how China is catching the U.S. in nuclear fusion. It's more about how China is overtaking the U.S. in nuclear fusion. I mean, China is overtaking across the board. Come on. Oh, this is such a delusional, like, come on, man. How China could beat the U.S. to nuclear fusion. No, it's how China is beating the U.S. to nuclear fusion. I mean, I'm not fear-mongering, I'm just calling it as it is. I'm a quantum researcher, and I've seen the rate of change where China was in 2005 and where they are right now, and I tried to raise awareness and alarm bells, but
Army cameras 6 miles away recorded the historic moment in the black of night.
Yes, your typical look at
The
us,
U.S.
glory
first
days.
harnessed nuclear reactions 80 years ago, using it to create the atomic bombs dropped on
Yes,
Hiroshima and
well,
Nagasaki in
a long time
1945. Those used the energy created when atoms split apart, fission, which went on to power nuclear plants, and more recently, small modular reactors, SMRs, which are seeing big investments from the likes of Amazon and Google as a way to power AI data centers.
The AI boom kind of came out of left field when it became clear the sheer volume of power that was going to be required.
While the U.S. still has the most active nuclear power plants, China is now king in new projects. Despite breaking ground on its first reactor nearly 4 decades after the U.S. pioneered the tech, China is now building far more fission power plants than any other country.
Yep.
China entered the fusion race in the early 2000s,
I mean, dude, China is a leader in thorium research at this point.
about 50 years after the U.S.
I
That's
mean, specifically thorium molten salt reactors.
when China joined the U.S. and some 32 other nations to collaborate on ITER, the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor megaproject in France.
Again, this is another one of those weird things. Yeah, let's collaborate. Let's all be like, warm and fuzzy. And then let's educate all of these Chinese and then let them go back and build it. And then let's start to panic, I mean, they have 10 times the population you do. 3 times the population that the US does. Like, what were you thinking? I don't know. Like, I don't understand any of this. Like, what's the strategy? I never got it. I don't get it.
Since then, they are training many more plasma physicists, fusion scientists. Than are being trained at American universities. We know they're moving faster than the US government program.
The first large-scale use of fusion was a U.S. hydrogen bomb test in 1952. But in the 7 decades since, scientists have struggled to harness more energy than is used to heat and sustain the fusion fuel. Fusion is the way stars, including our sun, make energy. The fuel is hydrogen, a light, abundant element in comparison to the heavy, scarce uranium used by fission. When hydrogen atoms reach extreme enough temperatures, up to 270 million degrees, 10 times hotter than the sun, the pressure causes them to fuse together, forming a superheated gas called plasma. When they fuse, they create helium, shedding some mass in the process, which can be turned into huge amounts of energy. But the plasma is hard to control. It does respond to magnetic field.
See, I mean, this is what Americans should be worried about, but instead, like, what's going on in the government is so weird. Like, we're running after the social security status of senior citizens. It's just like, and screwing over veterans. It's just like, I don't understand any of this, and the U.S. does not seem to be headed in the right direction. And honestly speaking, people wanted Bernie Sanders. The DNC screwed everyone over. They screwed him over. Now the Clinton group is admitting that they did that. But 4 years of Biden, nothing happened. And then when he got booted out, suddenly starts crying about, oh no, on the very last day, like, oh no, there's an oligarchy. Dude, you were there for 4 years. What the? Right? And the truth is, everyone knows this. People didn't vote for Trump because they voted for Trump. They voted for Trump essentially as a sign of saying, screw the system, we need the system to change. And the Democratic Party is still just sitting on their thumbs, They need to come out and say that. We accept that, we admit that, we let you down, and we are going to clean house. And we're going to ask the hard questions. Why is there so much corruption? We're saying that. We are the DNC, and we're saying, why is there so much corruption? Specifically, name names. Take names, man. Why does Nancy Pelosi have so much wealth? Where did her wealth come from? How did she grow it? We need to fix this. We need to clean house, right? If you want America to remain number one, you cannot allow such corruption to run rampant anymore. You need to make intelligent decisions, okay?
Allowing for magnetic confinement fusion, where the plasma is suspended and controlled inside a donut-shaped tokamak. In inertial confinement fusion, high-energy lasers are pointed at a peppercorn-sized pellet of fuel, rapidly compressing and imploding it. That's how the U.S. pulled off the historic first fusion ignition, producing net positive energy at the Lawrence Livermore National Ignition Facility, NIF, in 2022.
For a very, very brief time, literally nanoseconds, 192 lasers, each of which is the most powerful laser in the world, all fired onto a small target about the size of a BB. That fusion fuel then ignited and released more energy than was put onto the target. The next step, though, is to show that you can do it in a commercially relevant manner.
Up to now, fusion has required a ton of capital for huge facilities. Think giant laser bays and massive tokamaks. That's why some startups are trying new ways of controlling plasma in hopes of scaling down. Zap Energy sends a bolt of electricity through it. Bezos...
I mean, honestly, at this stage, the only thing that would give me any hope in the U.S., I mean, maybe, I don't know, everyone's smarter than me, so, I mean, they have all this money, they raise all this money, they must be smarter than me, so, maybe they're right, but it just seems to me the only way for the U.S. to really make a change is they need to invest trillions of dollars into research infrastructure. Trillions, right? Not $10 billion into fusion. It needs to be something where it's just epic, like completely epic.
SPACed General Fusion uses steam pistons. Helion uses magnetic pulses to send plasmas toward each other at more than 1 million.
Then there'd be so many opportunities that you're bringing in people who know nothing about fusion or nuclear, and you're training them, you're educating them, you're getting them up to speed. That's the sort of investment in infrastructure that's needed, right?
Miles per hour in a cylinder instead of a tokamak. TAE Technologies uses a different kind of fuel and particle beams.
Whoever has essentially abundant, limitless energy, it can impact everything you think of, from healthcare to access to food and water, the principal things to find quality of life, all of it. And I think that is a scary thought if that's in their own hands.
Nice transition. Wrong hands. China! Oh, we didn't say anything.
But when it comes to public support,
subliminal,
China is way ahead. The Department of Energy estimates Beijing is putting a reported $1.5 billion annually toward the effort, while U.S. federal dollars for fusion have averaged about $800 million annually the last few years. And in 2023, the DOE says China's fusion investments were more than those of all other countries combined.
The Chinese system is famously opaque and difficult to see as an outsider.
One thing we do know, for now, the bigger the reactor, the more efficiently it can heat and confine the plasma, so the higher chance for net positive energy. And China's newest fusion project is massive. Satellite images show a rapid build-out in 2024 of 4 laser bays pointing at a containment dome where the fusion reaction will occur.
Rapid build-out in 2024. So, let's see that again. This was... yeah. May 2024, they had nothing. So let's see that again.
And China's newest fusion project
January 2025
is massive. Satellite...
This is May 2023. So within 1 year, they went from this, or 2 years. They went from 2 years, nothing.
Images show a rapid build-out in 2024 of 4 laser bays pointing...
So look how quick that happened. I mean, the U.S. moves really slow, and America really needs to take a very long look in the mirror. There's a lot of things that are wrong here.
At a containment dome where the fusion reaction will occur. That dome alone is roughly the size of a football field, about twice as big as NIF, the U.S. laser fusion effort. Fusion Industry Association leader Andrew Holland says it's likely a fusion-fission hybrid.
A fusion-fission hybrid essentially is like replicating a bomb, but as a power plant. It would never work, never fly in a place like the United States, where you have a regulatory regime that determines safety, but...
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like, I mean, it's just typical PC jargon. Um, it just the reason why you don't do it is because they don't have political courage to do it. Because in the U.S., the word nuclear is so politicized. Everyone thinks of Hiroshima or thinks of um, all of these meltdowns like Chernobyl, and the U.S. government did not have the political will and the courage to go around and re-educate people and say, no, that was just a one-off. Like we've got these new nuclear plants, we've got these, we're trying new things. So instead, everyone just shied away from it because they just wanted easy money. And even this guy, like, he's not being honest with you. Yeah, I mean, they could use eminent domain to clear out spaces like they do for like Area 51 and other places, just keep people out of the way. And he's talking as if, America is a super safe country. I mean, as if they never tested out bombs in Bikini Island, as if as if you don't have poison in your foods. It's just really delusional. Like, it's almost psychotic the way some of these people wear these suits, get these nice haircuts, shave, show up, and then say some of the most ridiculous things. It's insane.
In a regime like China, where it doesn't matter what the people who live next door say, if the government says we want to do it, we're going to do it.
Right, yeah, America's never done that, right? Come on.
And China's existing national tokamak project, East, has been setting records, volleying with France's national project, West, in the last couple months for the longest ever containment of plasma inside a reactor, although that's a less monumental milestone than net positive energy. So how is China breaking ground with a technology the U.S. pioneered?
It's less monumental, like just randomly. Oh, it's less monumental.
Anything in a command economy where the government makes a decision that this is a priority is going to move faster. Is it going to be better? Was anything that the Soviets built better than what we had? Absolutely.
High-speed rail. The International Space Station that just launched. I mean, they're launching rockets. They landed on Mars. They're doing a good job, bro. This is another delusional answer. Like, this is just this is denial, full-out denial. Denial of what China is achieving at the moment. All right? Like, this is what it looks like. This is what denial looks like in America.
Absolutely not. But was it faster and did they have more of them? Yeah.
This is what denial looks like, people. Okay. Like, across the board, China's producing really impressive tech, and they're taking a lead in terms of cutting edge technology. And this is just like delusional thinking. I mean, this is just full on denial.
Definitely.
One shortcut, China's known for copying.
I mean, they're just,
America's technology.
The United States has a strategy completed in 2020 during the first Trump administration. Congress has not done anything to spend the money to put this into action. We published this thing, and the Chinese...
Powering the future, fusion, and plasmas. Cool. Tell us what the strategy was. Let's compare notes. Show the receipts.
Then went and built it.
Are you going to show receipts, or are you just going to fluff and say loosely they stole from us? Oh.
Craft that is essentially the U.S. plan.
Craft, a $700 million, 100-acre fusion campus in eastern China, is set to reach completion this year. And a new state-funded tokamak called BEST is expected to be finished in 2027.
Okay.
U.S. fusion startup Helion also says some smaller Chinese projects are copying its patented designs.
There's 3 different groups, actually, that are doing something very...
I mean, why wouldn't they? Let's be perfectly honest. China has a much better chance of weaning the world off of fossil fuels than the U.S. is doing at the moment. So, I mean, these people, with this Hawaiian shirt and I don't know. I'm so disillusioned right now in the U.S., like, who's doing the work, David? Who's going to make your breakthrough? Is it going to be you? Did you convince people to raise money and then you're just hoping for a unicorn to walk through the door? Like, I don't, like...
Very similar to what Helion has patented. Use these schematics and the designs from the patents and go try to copy it directly.
Where are the receipts? What specifically? I mean, I have to take your word for it? If they've copied it, why do you care about telling us specifically? Show us specifically where it is.
As China rapidly builds, the U.S. national projects are running on existing, decades-old machines.
You build something new, it attracts more people. It's exciting, right? You work on cutting-edge stuff. Nobody wants to work on old dinosaurs in a way. And there's a bit of a brain drain then, right?
President Trump ramped up support for...
Like a bit of a brain drain? I mean, I wanted to make, like, I just feel like I'm in, like, you know, the Far Side comic book or Dilbert or something, like, living in the West. The conversations that I've had, like, people get so sensitive, people get so upset when you just speak the truth, and then it really turns out, you know, it just feels frustrating because instead of getting credibility for me calling out America and the West for doing boneheaded, stupid things and being arrogant, you know, it just feels like there's an attempt to sideline. There's so much corruption here, there's so much delusion, denial, and depression. I mean, it's insane. I wanted really to make a quantum key distribution startup after my PhD. I went around and there was just so much inertia, so much pushback. The QKD protocol I created, I was just like, hey, this would be great for satellite. Let's just raise some money. Like, let's do a research project. Let's see if we can do QKD between here and satellites. Let's do some really cool stuff, inspiring. No, didn't want to do it. I mean, it was just insane. And then guess what? China did it in 2016. China did it in 2016, right? And just, so you can imagine what it feels like for someone like me. I'm just like, oh, I have to leave the field. You know, like, I'm working with this psychopathic boss at Stanford. You know, the first guy I worked with. He doesn't even understand the basics, the basic intuition of quantum mechanics and quantum information theory. It was so hard explaining things to him. I leave the field out of frustration, right? And, you know, hearing people say I'm being delusional, I've got unrealistic expectations, blah, 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 and then 2016 China publishes, they do it. You know, all of this crap that I heard, well, why would they give you money? You've got to give them a reason. Like, you know, where's the application? Where's the immediate application? Blah, 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 blah. Right? And it's just like, I don't, like, what's happening in the US? You're talking as if you're a third world country, right? This is why people leave third world countries, is to not have to listen to crap like this. And you're talking like a third world country. And then China goes ahead and it's like, well, we're doing it because that's the future. That's the future. Come on.
For nuclear, including fusion, during his first term, which continued under Biden. It's unclear what fusion funding will look like in Trump's second term.
Well, you got Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Dumb and Dumber, right? Delusion and denial. Yeah, that's just going to solve your problems. Stop being stupid. Everyone just vote for Bernie Sanders. Just say Bernie's your president. Let's not wait another 4 years of whatever the hell is going on right now. Let's not go back to Biden. Let's not go back to this crap. Let's get Bernie. Let's do something new. Let's do something fresh. Right? Let's feel like we've upgraded government. Not whatever this is. You know, like just gutting shit. Like that's all this guy knows how to do is just gut shit. He just gut it. You know what I mean? And outsource to China. Oh, let's outsource government to China. Let's do that. Yeah. Wake up, people.
Amid massive federal downsizing. But in the early 2000s, budget cuts to domestic fusion research forced universities to halt work on new machines and send researchers to learn on other countries' machines, including China's.
Nice.
Instead of building new ones, we went to China and
well
helped
done.
them build
Exactly.
theirs.
Yes.
Thinking, well, that'd be great. Well, they'll have
Right.
a facility.
Yeah.
We'll be really smart.
Perfect.
We'll learn from it, and we won't have any of our own facilities.
Yeah, there's not enough to do with quantum information. Like Silicon Valley doesn't have any labs. Like nothing. Yeah, okay, fine. Like, let's go biotech. Oh, you can't even do biotech in America now. Cool. Nice.
Well, that was a big mistake.
According to one report, China now has more fusion patents than any other country, and 10 times.
China has more fusion patents than any other country. They're already publishing more quantum papers, quantum information papers, than the U.S., right? In every aspect, wherever you look. So again, you get the picture, right? For why previously I called the guy in complete denial when he's like, oh, they did things faster, they did more stuff. They are producing results. Okay? Let's stop the denial. Let's stop the delusion. Can we please step away from psychosis and plant our feet in reality? China is getting results. Wake up. We need to invest. We need to refresh our research system. We need to refresh our economy. We need big changes, okay? That has nothing to do with taking ice cream away from grandma in her social security. Yes, something is weird about the age criterion. Sure, fix it, right? Upgrade the software so it doesn't reset after 70 years or whatever the reason is why, whatever is happening in the social security database, right? Fix the database, sure. But don't go in and say this is all corruption, this is all our problems. I mean, it's ridiculous.
The U.S. number of PhDs in fusion science and engineering.
There's a finite labor pool in the West that all the companies compete for. That is a fundamental constraint.
There's a finite labor pool in the West. I mean, this is again just like delusional speech. I mean, it's maybe there's a handful of handpicked, very lucky, people in the, in a certain network, if you get what I'm saying, who have the luxury of being able to choose between like, oh, this company or that company. Oh, I'm so lucky. There's a lot of people suffering. I mean, the economy in the U.S. for high-tech jobs is shrinking and has been shrinking so rapidly that the only thing left to do is AI. Like so many people, like they quit physics, they quit this, they quit that, they went into AI because there was nothing else to do, because all of the hardware, hard research was outsourced.
There's also a huge amount of materials needed to build fusion projects and build them fast. So China is trying to corner the supply chain in a similar play to how it came to dominate solar and EV batteries.
China is investing 10 times the rate.
Right. Results! Okay, here are the receipts. China is showing you the receipts. They've done it. They've won. They beat you hands down, no contest. Boom. EV is theirs. Boom. Batteries is theirs. Boom. Clean energy vehicles theirs. Boom. Right? This is not the USSR. You get what I'm saying? Like, I talked to people for over a decade, and these are the bozos that I kept coming up against, where it was just like, are you, like, what delusional, what psychotic world are you living in? Oh, the Chinese are going to collapse. What are you talking about? Like, oh, their stuff is crap. Like, you're installing that crap stuff on your roof. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, come on. What's going on?
That the United States isn't in advanced material development. That's something we have got to change. And so this is materials like the inner first wall of the fusion machines, the high power magnets that we...
Yeah, China's getting first dibs on that. Okay, are you starting to see the scale of the problem? Are you starting to get the scale of the problem? And why even this video itself, where they're talking to you about the problem, it's soaked in delusion.
We use to contain the fusion fuel and the fusion plasma.
China's also securing markets for necessities like capacitors and power semiconductors.
Our Polaris 7th generation system that is now operational, its timeline was set entirely by semiconductors. Literally buying those semiconductors from overseas, bringing them to the United States to plug them in to run a fusion system.
Shanghai-based Energy Singularity told CNBC China's efficient supply chain is a major benefit. In June, it says it
Really?
successfully created
Wow.
plasma in record time, just 2 years.
Who would have thought? I mean, but you see what I mean? It's like the bozos that outsource and set up the system, right? It wasn't that China came in and manipulated and stole and blah, blah, blah. It's like they keep trying to paint that picture. It's your own bozos in charge that set that up and just laid it out like a free buffet for the Chinese. Here you go. And now they're crying, oh, who stole from us? You stole from us, man. So, yeah, just, wow.
After beginning the design of its tokamak. Still, the U.S. has China beat in one main area, the private sector, which is taking off in a big way.
We're winning and bump and dump, baby. Bump and dump. Make an LLC with a cool name. Say all of these buzzwords. Yeah, we're going to be great. We're going to succeed. We're going to do this. We're going to hire like unicorn hires. This unicorn engineer is going to come and solve all our problems. Magic will happen. And we're going to go to the moon. And we're going to go to Mars. Like, this is where you're winning. All right? Can you see which country is behaving like a developed nation? How it used to be a couple of decades ago, right? The way the U.S. used to think, the way the West used to think, right? There's how a nation behaves and develops technology in a developed country versus what they do in third world countries. Third world countries was all about scam and bump and dump. And now look, they're celebrating. CNBC is celebrating. We're beating China in bump and dump. SPAC, baby, SPAC. Let's go to the moon. Bitcoin, bro, Bitcoin.
Of the 40 private companies in the Fusion Industry Association, Holland says 25 of them are in the U.S.
And since the FIA was founded in May 2021, I think we had about $1.2 billion invested in private companies around the world.
Global private fusion investment. I mean, whoop-de-doo.
And today, we can report that it's well over $8 billion. About $6 billion of that is invested into American companies.
Commonwealth, spun out of MIT in 2018, is Holland's pick for getting to commercial fusion first. Around 2027 is when its Spark tokamak plans to use superconducting magnets to reach net positive energy.
About 10 times more power out than in, and about 100 megawatts. Now that's never been done.
Okay, so just again, put it in perspective, 2018, it's 2025. So 7 years. They're like 7 years into this. Okay, they've done this in 7 years. Meanwhile, it took China 2 years to build that massive factory. I'm just trying to cut through all the BS, right? And just keep your feet firmly grounded on Earth. Okay? These are the figures that you should be looking at, right? Not a guy sitting back, relaxing, talking about, yeah, they paid me all this money. Good for you, buddy. You're going to retire. You're going to buy your houses. I'm sure, you know, you bought property elsewhere. You've invested, so you're going to sit pretty. Whatever happens with this fusion startup, where are the results, man? Where's the speed? Show us something.
You know, those are the conditions that form the basis of a power plant.
Which is Commonwealth's next project, a 400 megawatt fusion power plant planned for Virginia called ARC. And it's not just the U.S. Jeff Bezos and
400 megawatts? That's their next project. I mean, this is based on what? I don't know.
Microsoft are backing General Fusion in Canada. A handful of fusion startups are scattered across Europe, India, and Japan.
I mean, don't forget, like, it started with biotech. You had Theranos, right? You had all of this WeWork stuff. Right, the WeWork fellow is walking around nice and happy, right? I mean, these people got money for nothing, right? Bump and dump, all right? And that seems to be the new MO. And then,
most of these countries, plus China and Russia, are also collaborating on ITER, but that's hit major delays, with a revised timeline putting its completion at 2039 or later, far past when U.S. startups say they'll get there.
First electrons on the grid in 2028.
Putting power in the grid and,
Startups say they'll its timeline, putting its completion at 2039 or later, far past when U.S. startups say they'll get there.
First electrons on the grid.
Yeah. The U.S. is famous for meeting its deadlines, right? Like, we already landed on the moon. Like, we're occupying Mars already.
In 2028.
putting power in the grid in the early 2030s.
Somewhere around late in either end of the decade or early 2030s.
But the question remains, could China get there even sooner?
China's not on the path that I can see to do it first. I'm worried about the 100th one. I want to make sure that we get that best out there, we iterate, we evolve the technology.
Even though the first ones might be in the US, I don't think we should take comfort in that. We should actually be thinking about a sustained system. The finish line is actually...
I mean, this is why China is not making these crazy videos. Is they were not the first to do solar cells. They were just focused on doing the work. They dominated solar cells. They were not the first to do commercial EV sedans, luxury sedans. BYD was definitely there before Tesla when it comes to EV vehicles. But like that market, I guess Tesla sort of did it if you ignore Nissan and Toyota, but like China dominates. And for the same reason, they're not panicking about fusion because, they built their infrastructure. They built a structure that churns out results, that creates an economy that soaks up their scientific talent and provides opportunity for people to come in and learn. So effectively, China is operating the way that the US used to operate or claimed to used to operate. And the US now is doing this random desperate bump and dump. I mean, it's
actually a mature fusion industry that's producing products for use around the world, including in AI centers.
Fusion's going to be needed. We just need to move on from discussing things to actually putting things into action and building them. Everybody's moving as fast as they can.
No, I don't think so. If this is everyone in the US moving as fast as they can, we're in trouble, boys and girls. We are in trouble.